This is not at all where I was going, but you brought up you can hide your depth in a 3-minute promo. And to me, I've always wanted to subvert expectations on what pro wrestling maybe looks like, maybe people think it is. That was why the suits always, there was all these reasons for I want them to think differently. I want them to think of the range that we might have, that they might not be aware. You know, if you're a pro wrestler and you go on an appearance, they're gonna ask you, hey, cut a promo. And it's like, yeah, okay, I could, but I really appreciate you saying that because we can't stay one way. The wheel changes and the wheel, you know, continues to move. But here's what I was thinking as you said that. There are wrestlers that can get it done in 6-8 minutes of a match, 15 minutes of a match. And then there are wrestlers that genuinely take 40 minutes, sometimes upwards of an hour. And I feel maybe it's underappreciated. There's a style in every company that you go to. And it is really, you've got to work really hard to find your footing. How do I express my language? How do I tell my story? No pun intended. And you actually said this when we were talking off camera. Your first conversations that you wanted to do out there in your own career were long form conversations. And you mentioned some of it. Was it Flagrant, one of the ones you went?
Yep,
Yeah.
Flagrant, Rogan, Theo and Brendan Schaub actually gave me my first podcast opportunity. Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, I'll never forget it, man. That opened the floodgates. And this was, you know, it was a big podcast at the time, but this was right before Theo became the monster that Theo is now. Like, God, I love you so much, Theo. I'm so proud of you. No human deserved it more than Theo. But I remember Theo was the first one who was like, come on here, man, just share your story, him and Schaub. So right then, I told you this off camera, I knew that, I always was like, felt insecure about myself in short conversations with people. I always walked away like, I bet I sounded stupid right there, you know? But anytime I've ever spent like an hour with somebody, I feel like we could get each other, you know?
Sure.
So when I started doing media, my publicist, when I first hired a publicist, 2021 after Save Me, she's like, you know, she's thinking about traditional media. And I'm like, I'd love to do that, but like, let me go show the world who I am long form first.
Yeah.
So that's how we kind of jumped off of it.
So you mentioned Theo in that first podcast opportunity. It comes, you know, in wrestling, you get your first big breaks. And you never really even know sometimes what your first big break is. You think, okay, I'm in. And then something happens. For me, there was a moment at the BOK Center. I'm in Oklahoma and walking by the chairman's office, and Rey Mysterio pulled me aside and said, hey, I want to wrestle you at WrestleMania. We're going to go in the office and talk about it. And I was ready, and I had my idea, and it even had written down in my backpack. But when I went in that room, when I came out, my career was different. It genuinely was a break beyond just, it wasn't just an opportunity, it was a break. It was something special. I forever, even though I don't share it with him enough, I forever think of Rey as if there's nothing. I have nothing if this moment never happens. And I often think about, how do you thank somebody? How do you thank Dom? Do you befriend Dom? Do you watch over him? What is it? And I've never really figured out, other than saying it, hey, this was one of the most important things, if not the most important thing. So I'm asking in terms of with Theo, do you just have like I always call it the Chewbacca. That sounds really ridiculous, where you have like a life debt to somebody.
Yeah.
How do you express that to him now? Or is it just success? Is it just, hey, I'm gonna go out there and continue to be successful, connect with an audience, do it on a real non-performative way? How do you express your gratitude to somebody like that?
Dude, Theo, I put him like in the same regard as Schultz from Flagrant, of course, and Akash and Alex and all the guys, Dove, and Rogan, because these were like the three biggest platforms that gave me a chance super early.
Yeah.
And all of them have turned out to be, I want to consider them all lifelong friends now. We're all pretty close. And I try to make it a point. What you were saying is real. Is like, I want to make sure that they know they bet on the right horse. So I think about them all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whenever I'm like, anytime I do something cool, I'm quietly like, man, I bet Theo's proud.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I bet Rogan's watching this and like losing his mind.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, they're such good people. They'll be the first one to hit me when something cool happens. Like when I got nominated for a Grammy, I think like either Dwayne Johnson or Joe Rogan were the first person in my DMs that day.
Oh,
They were
love
like,
that.
dude, Grammy, this is big. Win, lose, or draw, you're the man. You know what I mean? And it's like, But I think about that a lot too. And it's funny how you compare Dom. It made me, when you were asking that, it might be too personal to ask you this, but have you got to have that moment in reverse yet that you can talk about where you've got to look at somebody and go, yo, come here, I want to talk to you. I want to wrestle you at WrestleMania. And you knew you were giving that kid a life-changing conversation in there and he knew?
Gosh, I think before I came back to WWE, maybe I found a couple of individuals now, you know, one, we just had him on the podcast, that being Ricky Saints. Somebody, and I would never want to take credit because it was their success. It was your talent. Yes, they let you in the room, but you also got in the room. So I don't know. It's almost that time will tell. Right. In terms of, I try to do it often. I often wonder if it annoys anyone backstage. You know, hey, I got my niece with me, I got my nephews with me, hey, little Brody shadowing me, hey, I like to do that because when you get in these rooms and you're around Michael Hayes and you're around Mr. Heyman and you get to talk to Triple H and you see you can't not pick something up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I've been able to really give somebody the full layup. Maybe I'm still selfish, right? Maybe I'm still trying to eat as much as I can. And then that equity, because that's always how it was referred to by wrestlers who would do the honors for me, is, hey, the equity is passing to you now. And at one point, it's yours to pass to somebody. So maybe in small bites, I don't know if I've done one yet that I can flat out say, that's my guy. I helped. One of the things that...
you know how humble you are is that I bet there's a locker room full of guys that would say the opposite right now.
Well, that'd be cool.
You know what I mean? I bet there's a lot more guys than you know in there right now that if I got to ask them this question, I'd be like, dude, Cody put me over here. Cody brought me here. Cody came to me in this moment and gave me a reflective moment I needed.
I hope so. One of my favorite things about the Hall of Fame back in the day, when my dad was still alive, is when he would sit with me and we'd watch, not when he was having to present, which he presented a lot of years too, but when he'd sit with me, every time somebody came on stage that he gave a break to, and often it was the first break, before they started talking, he'd go like, he'd nudge me. And then they'd mention him, and he was basically like keeping tab. Like he was getting like high off of.
Right.
Yes, I did. And I always really liked that because I was just talking about this with somebody else earlier today. They asked me, they go, do you want to mention Dusty in your interview tonight, your promo? I said, no. That guy's still getting over. I'm done. Like, what? No, he's somehow in, like, after death, it's still growing, which of course I love, but it definitely wasn't on my bingo card that it would expand and that all of these seeds he planted, especially with, NXT and all these seeds he planted ended up growing into, the biggest of trees, basically. It's really... I hope you're right, though. Yeah. I hope there is somebody like, he actually did. You know what I mean? He actually was helpful.
I think it's going to be more than you think, buddy.
I hope. That'd be special.